There we go.
Yes,
How
here we are.
Doing, Squire?
I'm probably better than you are. How?
Well, I am good. You know, I was looking forward to this, so I made sure I rested up and got myself ready for this. But I seem to be feeling a little bit delayed on the screen, so which is really annoying. But that's is what it is. So, are you ready for this fantastic conversation around how neurodiversity impacts society?
Always, Mac.
Good. What has your, so before we go into it, can you give people some instructions on where they can go and sign up to follow RockstarX and the rest of the series?
Yes, hold on. I will put that across the bottom of the screen now. But
showing off.
First things first. Here we go. One link, several opportunities and several possibilities. Follow that link and you'll follow everything from our Etsy store, our Patreon, to our LinkedIn page and other irrelevant channels.
Well, that's taking it to the whole new level. It's normally just like, we'll go over here and then, well, yours is just access to the whole world.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome stuff. So, Joel, did you want to kick off the conversation tonight? What have you got on your mind when it comes to this subject? Obviously, you set the whole series up with all these topics, so you must have had something in mind to cover. I've got loads of questions, as always. So I'll start off for you and kind of set the scene of what this means to you, so that those that are watching and listening can chime in, can go and comment, on whether they're on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and we can share those comments on the screen. We've already got, although that has disappeared from our screen now. I know there were a couple of comments early on. So if you want to share any of those, tell us where you're joining us from. Tell us whether you have been personally impacted by either being neurodiverse, or a family member, or a friend, or a colleague, and drop that into the comments so we know where you're coming from, because everybody will definitely have a different perspective on neurodiversity, or, as we recently found in some of our LinkedIn audios, never heard of it. This is all about education. So I look forward to seeing where this conversation goes with you, as always, Joel.
And as usual, Mac, yes, you as well. My primary, I had two things with the series. First of all, I didn't want the series to end, and secondly, I wanted to make you work.
Nice. And is that it? Is that Oh dear. Okay. Well, that's one of the things I like about and what you'll find is the difference between as Joel says, programming between atypical and should we say neurotypical and neurodiverse. Is neurodiverse, say it how it is. And the neurotypical tend to kind of fluff things up, confuse the crap out of people, and if you ask a neurodiverse person for directions, it will be maybe 2 or 3 steps. Neurotypical, it could be find this building, then if you look onto the right and after the sunset, and so it could be quite colorful. So you'll see already. Ask Joel a question, succinct. And I am talking longer than his whole answer. So there goes that one. So Joel, being somebody that has had labels his entire life, and therefore people treat you differently. How's that had an impact on society around you and your, I guess, perception of the world?
Well, it's been very challenging, certainly growing up, and because I was one of the, I couldn't be clean cut like most people. I had to I had to drop somewhere slap bang in the middle of two completely different worlds. So much so I've now got my own category. And you're on mute.
I realized that after splurting out my we wouldn't want it any other way, Joel. You're unique at the end of the day. Why would you want to be classed in with the rest of the world? Yeah.
So that leaves a lot of challenges in itself regarding the social aspect. The friendships are big. Still haven't cracked that fully. Whereas most people my age, and indeed in their 20s, are normally on a Saturday night getting shit faced in bars and pubs and clubs and stuff like that. And then and here I am. Well, now I'm at home with the dog, but he's asleep. So when that is asleep, I'm bored. Because I've got no social life outside these four walls. Still, I've been working on changing that particular difficulty for most of my life, and I still haven't cracked it yet. And that is a massive drawback when it comes, if you can call it a drawback, when it comes to being neurodiverse, autistic, etc. People, you want people to you want to socialize with people. You want to get in there. You want to have fun. We want to join a group, and you cannot do that because people are just don't know how to deal with you. And you're on mute again.
It is so weird. I don't know what's going on over here. I'm not touching anything, and it mutes me. And I'm trying to show comments, and it says no. I guess LinkedIn and streaming are having a wonderful moment today. But it's interesting that that you say that, Joel, because a lot of people don't realize it. Because there's some people are seen as socially awkward. And it's just because they're different in the way they communicate. And we've seen it for years, but now we have a better understanding of it in the fact that, as you say, we all have different programming. And one of the things that kind of come to light when it comes from an education piece, when it comes to neurodiversity, that you have taught me, is the fact that if somebody's different, don't go to somebody else to ask them how to deal with that person. Go directly to the individual. And sometimes that can be quite scary because it's that fear of, firstly, not knowing what to say. It's not knowing how to approach somebody that's different. And I know that once somebody approaches you, that's it. You'll have a platitude of things to talk about because you've got so many different interests. But it's just that initial fear that people have to overcome. So I want to flip that on its side and ask you about what are the challenges for you to approach strangers or people that you would like to get to know. Do you face the same kind of feelings of fear as such?
Well, living in the southeast of London and in the south in general, I don't think for once being autistic had anything to do with it because I noticed I studied in Manchester for 3 years. I noticed immediately the immediate change in people's friendliness toward you, as opposed to down here in London, when you pass someone on the street, they give you a look at this, say don't touch my handbag or don't rob me. And in Manchester and further north, it's like hello, and they have a conversation with you, no matter where you're from. But I've been told that if you went to Glasgow, you've gone too far.
I would say so. The Glaswegians are actually pretty friendly. They come across as scary because of the accent, but once you get to know them, they're incredible people.
But so that's not really an autistic. That's sort of a geographical location thing, but also, of course, having anything else on top of that, any more baggage that I'm pretty sure if you're going on holiday, or if you're going on holiday and you and the airport were to check you yourself and your uniqueness as baggage, you'd be well over the allotted.
Over the allotted weight, are you saying?
Yes.
Has that got something to do with my physique?
No.
Just checking.
But you have frozen.
And you haven't. So I'm not sure what's going on.
I'm younger. So, yeah. So living in a city which is inherently people are watching your back, people watching their backs automatically, and being neurodiverse is like a double whammy of what you don't really want to have.
Okay, so can you hear me there? Okay, John?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you are currently staring into space like this.
Yeah, I can see that on my screen, and I'm sitting there going, I'm blinking quite loud, but well, if that's a thing. I'm going to reload my page, so I might drop out for a second, but I'll be back.
Right. Before you do, okay, he's gone. Right. Well, this is awful. Let's just do this. There we go. So now Mac is back, so we'll just let him up. We'll just do this and then this. I was hoping not to do that today, but never mind.
Well, I seem to be moving like a sloth on the screen, so I don't know what is going on today, but it is what it is.
Is your internet sending you subliminal messages?
Nothing is sending me subliminal. My lips aren't working. Messages. You look very stoic, Mac. Well, Felipe, that's a first. Oh dear.
So, yeah, if you're neurodiverse and you can't connect with people, you can't talk to people, you can't find your way into people's groups, make as much noise as possible. For me, it was drumming. For you, it might be something else, like singing from the rooftops, or if you're living in Manchester, you might want to reenact the Strange Ways riots. Don't do that.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. So let me ask you this, Joel. I mean, one of the things. So for those of you who don't know Joel, Joel and I met a few years ago now, and since meeting, Joel's gone from never having networked, never doing any LinkedIn lives, and sitting with somebody who freezes on the screen.
Mac, you frozen again.
That's why I just said that. To really embracing taking on the big challenges that most of us fear. What is going on here? This is really annoying. We've got fast broadband.
Excuse me, people. Mac has just turned into a ventriloquist.
Joel, I'm coming back in a second. I'm going to.
Oh, fabulous. You're going to do that again, are you? Okay.
I tell you what, this is annoying.
Hey, right. Well, he's frozen on the screen, trying to restart his router. Has anyone got any questions besides technical difficulties? I do apologize that you have it either experienced or otherwise when it comes to neurodiverse people or anything. So have you experienced any of this yourself in life or meeting, trying to connect with anyone on the spectrum? I know the spectrum is very large, so it's ridiculous. The man of the moment is, well, the man of the something is back, so we'll see what the something is. 1 second, here he goes.
Okay, so hopefully this will work because I've reduced my camera, what do you call it, definition. But
Here's
according
a
to my
strange
internet, I'm
thought.
still fast. Yes.
Here's a strange thought. Why don't you just get rid of half of your tabs which you have open?
I have done that pre coming on here. This is the only, I've got 3 tabs open. So it's all good. Whilst 2 stoic freeze frames in a row. Yes, Felipe, I am talented. Or at least my internet is. Oh dear. So where were we? We were talking about the challenges that you face, and going up to people. And you were talking about the different things, like you have drums. I may sing, but that's probably not necessarily a good idea. But when it comes to people approaching you, I think one of the interesting things that I challenge people to do is, if you see somebody that is perhaps standing on their own, somebody that is perhaps different, and because most people are, you tend to get drawn to a crowd, but go and challenge your own ability to communicate by going up to somebody different, going up to somebody that you have no idea how to start a conversation, and just walk over and say, hey, hello, my name is, and starting with that. Joel shared some great conversation one-liners. I tell you what, he's he might be starting his own neurodiverse dating site soon, because he was sharing some great ideas on walking over and asking people, hey, my name is, I like rock music. What kind of music are you into? Or if what was the other one? What would be your kind of song of the day? Because that tells you a lot about the individual. As you can see, Joel's got much better hair than I do, which is really not fair. And he rubs it in because I'm old, apparently. Joel, coming back to the impact it has on society. I mean, there's so many different impacts. I mean, there's impact on family life. There's impact on work-school balance. There's impact on just work, colleague interaction, friendships. All of these things you've touched on, and what are the things that have been the kind of biggest impact to you, that you would like to see us challenge through organizations like RockstarX?
Well, to put it politely, which is not going to be very polite at all.
Careful, we're live.
The only way to get people who are narrow-minded and hell-bent on making people follow like sheep, so effectively transforming people into sheeple.
I've heard a lot, but not that one.
So the only way that that's going to happen is if someone or an organization like RockstarX were to show them the way, be the Pied Piper, but obviously not with kids. And
Preferably not.
the only way that anyone is going the only way that's going to happen with RockstarX is simply put, to get people to pull the finger out. No other way of saying it. No nice way of saying it. Pull their finger out, stick their heads out the toilet, and have a look around at the entire world.
We've had interesting conversations around this on our Saturday social Saturday chats on the LinkedIn audios about the fact that the world has still so much learning and advancement to do, whether it comes from the aspect of different cultures, different race, different education backgrounds, different languages. The one thing that makes us all unique is what tends to make a lot of people fear other people, and because we've learnt one way doesn't mean that there isn't room for other ways. However, unfortunately, a lot of people, myself included, when I was growing up, lived in a tiny little town in the apartheid era where we were taught, this is the way the world works. And even though I fought hard against it, it was fighting a system, a belief system, a government system that divided people because that was its intention. To keep different people in different places and have different rules for different people, which, yes, I think there needs to be different rules for how you treat different people, in the sense of, if somebody is in a wheelchair, then don't make them go upstairs. That's like an obvious one. It's, like logical. But to treat somebody as a human differently because of, where they're from and their whether it be cultural background or their wiring, as you put it. And I love that because, I don't think I'd ever make an electrician. I can do the basics, but man, it gets complicated. And that's how humans are. We can be very, very complex. And just being able to deal with somebody that's different. Now, I actually want to go, because this segues very nicely in. Felipe asks the question about, if people are nervous about approaching, someone that they know is neurodiverse because they've made it public. What would you suggest they do to overcome that fear? I think this applies to almost, cultural differences. All kind. Humans are weird. If it was dog, dogs would just go and sniff it out, go and figure it out, go and say hello, as you know, with our puppies. But humans are weird, man. We make things so complicated. So what is your feedback for people on this answer to Felipe's question?
There are lots of answers that can go to this question, but the main thing I would do is, I'm going to use this now briefly, is anyone who is on the neurodiverse, just don't give a flying just don't give a flying yes. Just do your own thing. Speak with the actions, preferably good ones. Don't want to end up in jail here. And if people are not hating you, then I heard this from somewhere. Then they don't know what you're doing, and if they are, then they do know exactly what you're doing, but they don't want to admit they know what you're doing. So if you speak with the actions rather than words, that's far more impactful than if you just, well, if you're non-verbal, you can't do this anyway, but if you speak with words, it's not that impactful.
So give us a couple of examples of, how would you like to be approached if you're working in a large corporate, say, a company like Microsoft or Google or LinkedIn, and somebody new, from you being as famous as you are now through LinkedIn and social media and talking about, your autism and neurodiversity. How would you like to be approached by somebody who may feel uncertain or uncomfortable about coming to speak to you? What would you say to that individual?
Number one, I don't bite. For two reasons. Number one, I am not an animal. Number two, I don't want to be done for sexual harassment. And if you want something done, if you want me to do something, how the hell am I meant to know what you want me to do if you don't actually ask me?
And I think that's one of the interesting ones, because I remember having a conversation with you a while back about the differences in the wiring, as it were, and how you as an individual, like to be shown something, and then once you've shown something, you pretty much, that's it. You've got it. You kind of like, it's almost like you've got a photographic memory, and you're in. Whereas, some people may learn in a different style or way. How does that impact things at work, as an example? So if you had, say, a manager come up to you and say, ask you to do something, what would be the best way to support an individual like yourself to make sure that they can get the outcome that they're expecting for the company, as well as making sure that they help you understand what you need to achieve?
Now, I know managers and leaders don't like hearing this, but there's only one way to get the best result out of an employee. That really is the only way to do it. I say this with my video clients that I used to do videos for. You can either have it done rushed or you can have it done right. You can't have it done both. So, once you give me a task, sit down, shut up, be patient, and it will come to you.
So I guess that works in some circumstances, but what happens, like, in pressurized organizations where there are time frames that have to be hit? As an example, the 8 o'clock news.
Well, then you have ChatGPT, don't you?
Well, we have that now, but we didn't have that before. But realistically, from a social perspective, and some of the impacts that people don't realize that there are in society is, a lot of the time we live in, or most of the time we live in our own cocoons. So, we don't know what we don't know, and often, our own friends or colleagues or family members are going through certain challenges that we could never imagine, because we're just not, it's not something that we have had to deal with. It's, as an example, a lot of people would say, when something extreme happens to them, they always go, a lot of people say, oh, well, I never thought this would happen to me. I always thought it would happen to somebody else. And when it comes to neurodiversity, as an example, I know as a father of a child with ADHD, I face certain things that other parents with children that don't have it don't face. So when it comes to the impacts and things that may be going on with some of your colleagues or people that you know. So as an example, if somebody is coming to work and they're exhausted or they're tired and you just think, oh well, they stayed up all night, or out partying, or there's always we always assume, and sometimes just checking in on somebody and finding out, hey, how's it going, or speaking to somebody like a manager and saying, hey, can you check in on this individual? Because as an example, I went through a couple of years where just to try and get to sleep was an interesting challenge, with trying to fight a child that was for some reason getting a second breath at like midnight, and then was like, yay, let's start doing things. And there was no way of getting them to sleep. But another parent who doesn't have that challenge may not realize the challenges that the other person is going through. So unless you've walked in their footsteps, and it's the same for yourself, Joel, you've told me the stories about the challenges you face. Like at school, you were on feeding tubes until the age of 18. You were unable to do what most children take for granted. Things like going to play football with your friends, things like going out to parties, things like dating, all those kind of things, because you had restrictions, one on your health, and two on how society saw you, because you were different. And that has a massive impact on, firstly, your experience, but it also has the impact that so many people that were around you at those times never really got to know you, understand you, or communicate with you in a way that was meaningful. Is that fair to say? Yeah.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
So based on little things like taking the time to get to know those around you, finding out what is different about that other person, why things are different, how you can help. Because somebody like Joel, as an example, baffles me when it comes to working with him on some things, because I show him something and he's like, oh, okay, and then he comes back and he does it 10 times better than I did. And I'm like, but how did you figure that out? And he's just, like, you've got this talent for technology and for video and editing and music and all these things that I sit there and I'm like, I don't even know where to start. But this is the am I
No. I spent the entire day sitting downstairs having a four-legged child with my.
I tell you what, I know how tiring that can be. It's so important that we don't realize what is going on around us, because each one of us are in our own little bubble. And unless we take time to, as they say, smell the roses, just get to know the individuals that are around you, because that one person that could be making all the difference in your world when it comes to your business or your friendships or just understanding the world better could be right there. But because we see them as different and don't have the patience to just stop and go and inquire, we could be missing incredible insights into the world. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Joel, around this is the concept of masking, because that's something that unfortunately neurodiverse people have to learn to do quite often. Is that something that you've ever had to do, and how has that impacted you?
Masking, I have become. I'm a pro at. I really am a complete pro at. Didn't want to be, but had to be. Fitting into mainstream schools, had to mask, and peer pressure is a lot to do with it. Like when when they get if someone else in your classmate gets a new phone, you've got to have the best one there as well. You've got to go up on them. Same with masking. You don't want people to see you like sticking out like a sore thumb, or when you're growing up, when you're a kid, you want to fit in. You want people to like you for who you are not.
It's a bizarre concept, don't you think? That
Yes, I
everybody
do
wants
think so, but I think that we were conditioned. We are conditioned like that from a young age.
absolutely. And when you think about it and just take a step back, you realize that to fit in, you have to meet a certain criteria, as it were. So, as an example, if you were going to the theater to fit in, you need to be quiet in the audience, and that's conditioning. And yes, it makes sense, but at the same time, there's so many situations where individuals are expected to be different. Now, just imagine, if you had, as an example, football, one of the most incredible sports in the world, most followed sports in the world. But if everybody was a goalie, you'd be pretty screwed, trying to play that game, because there'd be nobody else attacking or defending out there. It's the same as athletics. If everybody was the guy who had the starter gun, but nobody ran, it would be just like bang, and then then what? This is something that we really need to learn to challenge, because one of the biggest challenges I've faced as a parent is realizing that because your child is different, bullying is on a different scale. The patience level with teachers, as an example, on a different level, because they don't know how to support, they don't know how to facilitate, and because a child is different, you must have faced this, I don't know how many times in your life, of, well, let's pass them on to somebody else because I can't deal with this, or I don't know how, or tell that child to behave because they're being different. And basically what teachers are doing is, because they, as an example, if there's one child that's different in the class, and they what's the word? They single out that child and point out their differences all the time. And in cases that I faced with as an example, some of the schools I've had to deal with, where if a child is different, or they have ADHD, or they have autism, or things like that, if the teacher doesn't understand how to deal with it, they don't realize, because not every child is diagnosed, as an example. So what you may face is a teacher thinking that a child is just being disorderly, being misbehaving, and then telling the kid to go and sit out in the corridor, or making that child go to detention or whatever it is, without finding out what is the cause. Why is this happening? And it's the whole thing. Even our pharmaceutical world works on treating the symptoms and not finding the root cause. And it's that root cause that can make all the difference, because if that teacher said, hey, here's an individual that's different, this is what we do, and this is how we find out how to help and assist that person, that teacher is showing the whole class how to better treat an individual. But by taking that child out of the situation, they basically making it okay to say, well, if somebody's different, just put them outside in the corridor. If somebody's different, tell them to behave, or make fun of them, or treat them differently because they are different. And this is where the root cause comes, because there isn't enough education around understanding people's differences in schools, and the fact that the world's changed so much since the pandemic. It's a real opportunity for us to disrupt the schooling system. I mean, for yourself as an example, what kind of I've been rambling here for a while, but what kind of challenges did you face in everyday schooling just because you were different?
The mainstream classes, number one, in my secondary school, I was barely there for a term before I moved. It just wasn't kitted out to support special needs properly. I hate that term, special needs, but
we all have special needs.
Yes.
um, and the challenge that we have is, it's so easy to give a label, and unfortunately, if you look at autism as an example, I've spoken to so many people. I have family members that are the spectrum, as they call it, is it's like the rainbow. It's so wide. It's
how long is a piece of string?
Yeah, just because somebody has autism doesn't mean how you dealt with a previous autistic person is going to be exactly the same, because of so many differences, like you mentioned already, whether it be verbal, non-verbal, different talent sets, different skill sets, and different environments that they've been brought through, because some people are brought through a supportive environment and therefore they are more enabled than others that are seen as the problem children, as an example, because it wasn't potentially diagnosed. So the impact on society is so broad, because it impacts, as we said, on parents, on individual relationships, friendships, on companies and organizations. What would you say with regards to other people that are neurodiverse that are potentially watching this and feel your pain? They get what you're talking about, and they want to reach out and connect, because not everybody is comfortable. LinkedIn's an interesting thing as an example, where not everybody feels everybody is approachable. But what would you say to people watching this, whether it be on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, about reaching out and connecting and starting a conversation?
Comment below, email me, or my number is not unlisted, so you can probably find me on the internet somewhere. You can probably find my mobile number as well somewhere on the internet. And if there's any way that I can help you help yourself, then we would be going towards a far better society than fighting with each other.
So, one of the things I'd like to do is just reach out to other organizations that work with individuals that are neurodiverse, as well as organizations that are wanting to learn about how they can improve their communication skills and support for neurodiverse individuals. Is to reach out. If you already run some form of a program that you have learned helps with organizations, onboarding, or helping with hiring managers understand neurodiversity better, or there are certain skills programs that you provide for to improve communication, as an example, between neurotypical and neurodiverse people. Please let us know. We would love to look at partnerships and how we can work with different organizations to improve how we work as a world. And it's much better when we all get together and work together than lots of little organizations working individually, trying to chip away at one stone at a time in their own local community. Together we can really snowball this learning and educational process around neurodiversity. Reach out, comment, connect with Joel. As he said earlier, he doesn't bite. But he's pretty good at responding and making things happen. I mean, if you look at some of the things that he's had happen over the last year, being mentioned on Forbes magazine and being called into all kinds of weird and wonderful interviews by some great names around the world. He has this vision and passion for making the world a better place by improving how we see neurodiversity and understand it. Joel.
And Mac had a killer whale teaching LinkedIn, so
killer whale teaching LinkedIn. Killer whales can be quite passive, but they can also be quite vicious. So I'm not quite sure if that's a compliment.
Killer whales, not killer whales.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay, I've been watching too much of the aquarium.
Yeah, same. I'd say there's some water may have gone in there.
I think so. It's all good. Joel, any final thoughts around kind of neurodiversity and some of the impacts that it has on society that we haven't covered or that you want to address?
I like to just say, look around day life. If you cast someone with neurodiversity aside, careful, they might come up with a new phone.
Well, not only new phones, so many different
new laptop,
incredible
computer
technologies have come out because of the incredible skills and thinking that have come from neurodiverse individuals. We can't. It's as an example, if you look at some of the most complex watches in the world, they are incredible. But if you just have the shell and that's the showcase, but you don't have all those little cogs that turn and make things happen and have that knock-on effect, you remove a heck of a lot of beauty in the world. So make sure that you embrace each other's differences. And be curious and inquire, go and find out why people are different. You never quite know. I mean, if you if you look at some of the most incredible medical breakthroughs have come through from finding some weird and wonderful plant or herb or something that, unless somebody went and found out and played with it, how are they ever going to know that this is going to be something that's useful?
Indeed. And also, guys, if you like the what we're doing here with regarding all the flashiness, what you might call flashiness, what I call bloody simple, the streaming, and you want to get streaming yourself, the lovely ladies at StreamYard. I've not been dealing with any guys here. The lovely ladies at StreamYard have given me access to a special link which will give you 14 days free trial.
Very nice.
Yes, but if you don't want to be charged after that, just remember not to do auto renew. I've been there, done it, and it's not been fun. But we've also, Mac has no idea about this bit yet, but we're also besides our live meetup and tour and stuff coming up hopefully shortly, we don't have a date or a year yet. We wanted to be this year, but obviously legal shit is getting in the way at the moment, as to why it so far isn't happening. But what is happening is over the next few meetings with my team and the rest of RockstarX, we will be picking a date where we will be having our first ticketed event on lounges.tv with Blaine Bartlett.
Ah, brilliant stuff, bro. Blaine is incredible. And I'd highly recommend anybody who's listening to make sure you get on that, because Blaine is well sought after globally.
Hence why it's a ticketed event. And what he'll be talking on is what he knows best: business, leadership, and everything that. So that's the event you shouldn't miss, and it's an unmissable event. So please do keep your eye peeled for when the date of that gets revealed. After a few conversations with my team as well, we'll just sort that out, and then Blaine, and then
Excellent stuff. Well, that's going to be exciting.
Yes, indeed.
And a great new platform as well.
Is there any other people? I can't really see. I don't know why I'm doing that. Is there any other people who have commented or got any more questions for us before we end?
I can't see, because if I refresh now, I will drop out of the stream again.
But you've got 6 screens.
Yes, but I've shut down to only 2 so that I don't have issues with the broadband side of things.
Have a look and see if it actually behaves itself now.
Hold on, I'm trying.
And while we're having a look for this, please do enjoy. As I said, StreamYard is available. It's easy to use, a piece of cake, and if you want help with it, I'm more than happy to assist. After all, I helped Matt with his, and he has no idea what to do with it. So,
no, we don't seem to have any more comments. We had a few from Marcello and Felipe. And I don't think we have any others that ask any questions or need asking for a response this time.
And the next live, I believe, I've forgotten what subjects we were doing in this particular order, but Mac is really not going to like me for saying this. He's really, you're not really going to like this, Mac. Sorry about this.
What have I put myself in for now?
Right. Well, you've known this when you first met me, but I like to do a wild card. I like to do a wild card here, and I would like. You see, in this particular series of Fighting for Your Right to Party, we've got 10 episodes. We have got 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Planned. What I'm about to do is drop a bomb.
Nothing like being put under pressure live, hey?
And the reason why I'm doing this is 2 reasons. One is because I like to open the floor for an episode where we invite you to come up and share your experiences with neurodiversity and around this subject. And 2, because if I mention this live, it's less likely Mac will say no.
No pressure. I think it's a great idea, Joel. Absolute great idea. So if you want to drop in, you want to be part of the conversation.
So we have 10 planned episodes, but we want to give you more, so we now have 11, and the 11th one is being you. We want you to all come up, or as many as you want to. This will be a special. So Mac, get the coffee. It will be a special. And we want to talk to you. We want to be more in touch with our audience. We want to invite you all on here, as many as StreamYard will let us. I haven't tried this yet. And share your own stories and your own experiences.
I think that's absolutely great, Joel. And I think, anybody who is also aware of some people that do some great work out there that we should partner and look at collaborating with, mention them. Let's get them invited and get them involved as well, because, we need to help and grow this as quickly as we can, because the more people we educate, the easier it'll become. So let's have some fun doing it.
Calling investors. Keep an eye out for our video pitch later on this month.
Settle, Joel, settle.
And it's always me who drops things in the comments. This time I want you to do it.
Awesome stuff.
But
Excellent.
Yes, guys, thank you for having us. As always, a pleasure. If you have enjoyed this episode, I am Brian May and he's Freddie Mercury. If you haven't enjoyed it, unfortunately, we are Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson.
Oh dear. And on that note,
enjoy the next 41 seconds of StreamYard promotional video and then we'll end it.